First though, hair extensions seem to be increasingly popular, especially at the moment with celebrities changing their looks almost overnight. More and more people are getting real hair extensions. But do we actually know where all this hair is coming from? Well, foreign correspondent Dan McDougall is in New Delhi in India to tell us more. Dan, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And hair from India is extremely popular for hair extensions, but where does it come from, Dan?
I don't think many people actually know, but the hair industry in India, the export industry alone, is worth around £300 million annually. It's a very lucrative industry. But unfortunately, a lot of the hair comes from very unorthodox means. Most of the hair marketed in the UK is temple hair, and that's the kind of hair that you'll probably end up seeing on footballers' wives or celebrities. It comes from hair donated to temples by pilgrims and devotees. And the manufacturers or the sellers of hair extensions in the UK will tell their customers that the hair is donated with the full knowledge of the devotees that the hair is going to the West. But in reality, this isn't true. It's actually something of a fallacy. Most of the Indians who donate hair believe they're giving it to God and the temple, not to rich Western women. And the hair is also collected in other means. I mean, 20% of the hair that ends up in extensions is from temple hair, but 80% of hair exported to the West comes from really unorthodox means. Hair collectors go from village to village looking in domestic waste bins for hair. People collect hair from women's combs and give them trinkets and toys in return for their hair. And an investigation I did recently for the Observer newspaper, women are actually being attacked for their hair and in some cases blackmailed. It's quite an appalling industry. But the third problem here is the hair is also processed in India, and that's one of the biggest issues here, because the hair is being processed in sweatshops. Women are working in the most appalling conditions, processing hair for 15 hours a day. They're getting respiratory diseases because they're working with fine hairs every day, and they're getting paid a pittance for it. I mean, from top to bottom, the industry is a mess, and in India, it suffers from a distinct lack of regulation.
So we obviously have a responsibility here in the West to make sure that this gets regulated in some way. But it just seems that because it's over there, we're all turning a blind eye.
Well, I think that's a serious problem, Lorraine. I mean, the people are exporting hair into the UK, and they're not really caring where it came from. I think most people that have extensions in the UK will have no idea whether the hair's come from India or the hair's come from China or the circumstances behind that. I mean, hair brings a lot of happiness to Western women, but I can tell you from first hand, it brings a lot of misery to women in India.
Dan, you talked about the sweatshops, because obviously this hair has to be processed. What are the conditions like? I mean, you said that some women are suffering from problems, respiratory problems, because of the conditions they're working in. But what is it actually like in there?
There's a real problem with access to these hair factories. I mean, basically, they've got quite a lot of security, but me and my photographer just kind of barged our way into a number of these factories, and we got some amazing photographs. And women are working, 14, 15-hour days, and it's dank, it's smelly. A lot of the hair has lice, parasites attached to the hair, so they have to clean and process the hair. But when they're actually cleaning and processing the hair, the fine hair and the particles and the dust gets caught in their throat. And a lot of them are wheezing, and they work in appalling conditions, and they earn nothing, Lorraine. They earn, maybe $5 a week if they're lucky.
Dan, stay with us, because in the studio I've got Eva Proudman. Eva's General Manager of Raccoon International, one of the biggest importers of human hair extensions. Looking at that and seeing that and listening to what Dan has to say, I'm appalled. I think this is really worrying. How can you make sure that the hair that you're getting has been taken in a proper way, that people know what's happening, and is not being, processed in a sweatshop? Are you convinced that your product's okay?
I am convinced our product's okay. We're an ISO 9001 registered company, which means we have to be able to account for our supplier relationships. And the suppliers we use, they've been with us for 12 years, and we started with a stock of hair 12 years ago in a shoebox. And we've built that over the 12 years. We don't process our hair in India. We have 2 factories out in the Middle East, and they process our hair. And it takes one hair technician a month to process 2.5 kilos of raw hair. And we've worked with them over that time to build our production line, and we forecast our requirements 12 months in advance. I meet our suppliers twice a year. I have an ethical processing statement from them. And as a responsible manufacturer, we also reprocess the hair and extend the life of it, because it is a scarce resource. And I think my passion for the industry is use a reputable manufacturer, don't let this black market escalate by buying things from market traders, street traders, the internet. You don't know where it's come from, and we certainly don't want that industry to grow.
No, because you don't, because you were saying you're responsible, you try your very, very best to make
That's
sure
right.
that everything is absolutely kosher. But it must upset you when you see that other people aren't as careful as you and aren't as ethical as you, if you like.
It does, and it's a real passion of Raccoon. Peter, who founded it 12 years ago, his watchword is quality and service. And we fight an ever-increasing battle with people producing counterfeit goods. eBay have worked with us really well, with people selling what they call raccoon hair, which clearly isn't. Our hair technicians in the UK, we tie it in a special way. We have, you know, a complete trace back to where we bought it from, how long it's been in stock. And the people on eBay are paying money for things that I don't know where they've come from, and they're not raccoons. So we work really tirelessly to stop that.
Well, Dan, if I could just go back to Dan in New Delhi. Dan, it seems to me that this is all about, we're the only ones that can actually change this. Nothing is going to change in India, is it? Unless the demand here stops, or unless we actually start saying to ourselves, you know, we don't want this, we want to know that this is all reputable and it's all absolutely kosher. Again, it's got to be down to the consumer, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, Eva kind of touched on the factory process, but what she didn't really account for was where the hair that she sells to her customers comes from. I mean, she says she trusts her suppliers. Has she been to India? Has she been to the temples? Has she been to the sweatshops? Have you done that, Eva?
I've been out and visited my suppliers, and I've seen the conditions, the hair
technique. In India specifically?
We don't process our hair in India, so I can't comment on that.
From India. So have you visited India?
I haven't visited India, and our suppliers have hair buyers who've worked for 40 years that have got a small selection of temples they buy some temple hair from, which isn't all the hair we supply. And we are the only company that supply an alternative in the synthetic as well. So we do everything we can.
With all due respect, I think if we have an industry I mean, if you operate an industry like this based on trust, then you're taking a huge risk, because I've seen first-hand sweatshops. I've seen women, I've interviewed women who have had their hair hacked off. I've seen people give their hair in temples believing they're giving it to God, and it's actually being exported to the West and sold. One temple makes 30 million a year. This is big business. And at the end of the day, this business is being floated by exploitation of women and children. And I would advise you to travel to India and perhaps see what's going on, because that might give you a head start, at least in terms of informing your customers.
Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to talk to you again. It was great to talk to you, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Right, I'd like to know what you think. Do let us know. Do write to me, or obviously phone, or you can text or go through the website.